Wednesday evening is mainstream racing series evening. With that, welcome and konnichiwa here from the Suzuka International Airport. No, the Suzuka International Racetrack, of course, in Japan. Welcome for round 7 of our second MRS season. We turn to the middle section. The middle third of the second season is on, and Suzuka is a great track for us here tonight. There it is depicted, 1 minute 30.9, the lap record of Lewis Hamilton in 2019, 5.8 kilometers of length, 18 turns. Track difficulty is medium. I would like to say that it is hard or very hard. The only track shaped as an 8, and beside Monaco, the only track that features only one DRS zone. DRS is not a big topic for here tonight, but we have a lot of sections where you need to be fast, so you cannot have too much of downforce in these sections. But likewise, we have some very difficult turns, especially the S's in the first sector, as well as the long hairpin 130R on the very right side of the minimap, where you need a lot of downforce. So this is what the driver will struggle with here tonight. Let's have a look, as the session timer has already started to tick. We will have 18 minutes qualifying, 50% race distance, full damage, dynamic weather. That can be a topic for tonight. And further, we see both pit assists are off, manual gearbox, manual start, and maximally medium traction control for our 17 drivers here tonight. So we will have 17 drivers, sadly not a full grid for this great racing track, but well, that can happen. 2 of our Swiss drivers, Kantan and Ricky Kuao, will miss tonight as they moved to another flat and therefore needed a break last week. I suppose that's the same reason why they are out tonight. And I mentioned it already, rain can be a topic here in Suzuka, and the qualifying looks soaked. Pit lane totally wet. This adds some oil to the fuel. So we see intermediates. That means that the top 10 tire rule is not in charge. If the race start is dry, everyone can opt for the tire they wish. Usually you have to start on the tire you qualified into the top 10. Here we are in the second McLaren. This is Captain Infinity, Sam Clark, one of our reserve drivers. Sadly, 1 or 2 more reserve drivers are missing. Maybe they will join later of the evening. Still have a few minutes if they want to join in. And to the E, that's Nevis Ekic. He was a reserve at the beginning of the season, but has turned into a full seat driver for the ongoing season. And yeah, what else is going on? What is important in MRS? Maybe let's start with our overall standings. We have seen Kantan, who had a monstrously great start of his season. He finished the first 4 or 5 races on the podium, winning 3 of them, and therefore really run away early with the standings lead. But he had a not so competitive result in the in the 5th race and the 6th race. He missed totally, so his advantage is shrinking while we ride with Sam Clark here over his first hard lap. Kantan is still the leader, 92 points his total, and right behind him Thomas Walsh now with 80 points, so 12 points the difference. That means as soon or if Tom Walsh will finish on the podium, the 3rd finisher of the last season will be the new leader. Then in 3rd position we see Peter Simpson, very special start of his season, 3 DNFs, 3 times he finished the race, and all of those 3 he won. Let's see if he can keep his streak going. Let's see if he can make it 4 out of 4, at least when he finished the race. And then in 4th position we see Stefan Williams, but he is already behind by 33 points. So good position for Williams, but he needs to make up ground if he wants to stay alive in the championship battle. For the moment, while we have been on board with Sam Clark here in his first hot lap, we see that the track is not totally soaked, so it looks like there are some dry strips around the racing line, so it's not monsoon tire weather, but intermediates should be fine. I haven't heard about the weather forecast for the race. Let's just wait and see what will happen then. And second time in is from Stefan Williams, almost a second behind our reserve driver. And now Tom Walsh in the Racing Point, the new leader, 140.6. There will be a lot of times incoming now. Let's have a short moment and see where everything and everyone will be ranked then. So, a bunch of times incoming. Sam Clark still sitting in 5th now. Peter Simpson, the pole setter for the moment, with a 140.0. While Mark Goodman, Grimo, right behind him. And Dominic Walsh in 3rd. Dominic Walsh, our reigning champion, who had not the best start of his new season. Dominic Walsh is sitting in 6th position in our overall standings with minus 42 points behind Kantan. And the only one who is still on a hot lap is this guy, Andrew Mond. Let's see what will happen for him here in his first shot. He is in rank 11. I heard from the rumor mill that he, Andrew Mond, as well as his teammate Mark Goodman, will be racing in Japanese flags. We see Gary wiggling behind the slow Grimo, who is just wanting to let other drivers pass. And Blake Gary, who's on an in-lap back to the pits, already crashed into him. Is there someone else coming? No. So Mark Goodman could now go ahead on his in-lap. So he, Goodman, Grimo, as well as Andrew Mond in P12 will race in Japanese designed helmets today as a salute to the home race of their engine supplier, that is Honda. Last year we can call out Honda as a Formula 1 engine supplier. As everyone should know, they will resign after this year, and yeah, Honda was always a in and out in the Formula 1, so they come in, stay for a few years, then they check out for a few years, then a few years later they will come back in. So let's see when the year will be when they return to F1. We have seen here Thomas Walsh on his in-lap, and in front of him probably was Monster Andrew Mond, who almost lost his car in the last chicane. He was still on a hot lap. He was, even though he had some troubles, he was able to improve himself. We see Nevis Ikic, the first one who's out. There he is, a wrecked car after turn 1. So Nevis Ikic in the second Alfa Romeo is finished maximally in P11. Maximally. I suppose he will drop a few positions as soon as those behind him will get in some lap times. Maybe Leonard Cam. He just started his hot lap. Let's ride on board with him. Let's sit on his shoulder a little bit for the moment, because he is the only Scotsman in our MRS. And for this second season we have a new feature of MRS to increase the depth of our racing series a bit, because every week between the races I invite a few drivers to a driver's interview, and that is not particular to the last race. It is because about some background stuff. Who are those guys? What are their best racing successes? And all of that. And in the last feature, the last episode that aired just Monday, 2 days ago, Leonard Cam, Stuart McDonald was one of my guests. The other one was Andrew Mond. The interview is still rewatchable on my YouTube channel. And yeah, that's why we just ride on board with him here for a moment. He's here in the last sector. Last sector is actually just this bow and the last chicane, and then trying to accelerate here in the slippery conditions. And then Leonard Cam will finish in P12. Only P12. We saw him struggle a bit in front or just before the final chicane. And yeah, still 7.5 minutes left for him and all the other guys. Everyone except Nevis Ikic, of course, to improve their times. Let's have a look what our Rockstar is doing. The only one who did not set a time yet, that's Mirko Caruso. As we ride on board with him here on the straight head-up TV pod. He looks very cautiously, even though it is just his outlap. Simo, Peter Simpson ahead, is on his outlap too. So Rockstar Caruso would do good in letting him sneak away a little bit. Yes, now it's Pricey ahead, Ryan Price. So he should try and get some distance to whoever is in front of him. Suzuka is a longer track, so it is possible to get some distance between you and other drivers. So let's try and see where Caruso will be in the end. This might be already his one and only hot lap shot. The lap times are longer than usually. So after this lap, Caruso might not be able to make it back into his pit, get fresh tires and get out again on a hot lap before the clock hits zeros. That's why I would like to stay with him here for the moment. We will then focus on the other drivers, and he lost it. His maybe only hot lap, and he lost it in turn 3 or 4 in the S's. And now his tires are either cold or hot or dirty, so he lacks grip. David Lawson very slow there too, just to let Mike Taylor pass through. So that has maybe already been it for Caruso. Maybe the Mercedes number 2 will start in the last position. While that is happening, let's have a look what Peter Simpson is doing shortly before the 130R, where he wishes to take, no matter if it's dry or wet, but in the wets, of course, even more. Dominic Walsh has pushed ahead into the front start road. Second position at the moment for Dominic Walsh. And Seymour is not on an improvement, so he might return to his pit crew right now. Meanwhile, what is Jack Rocknair doing? One of the Ferraris already. He's on a hot lap, but instead in the first sector. Sector 1 about to come to an end right here. Before the double right, and he lost it! He lost it on the braking point. You see how slippery the conditions are. Our drivers try to push the limit further, but with every push they risk losing it all. No damage to his front wing, but damage to his lap time, of course. And now with 4 minutes left, let's see if he will stay out and try another hot lap right now, or if he might try to come back, get a fresh set of inters, and then return on track quickly. And Torpedo Jack goes on. He will go on. We will have one eye on him. Let's have a look what else is going on. Who might be on a competitive lap time? Rockner almost lost the rear there in turn 3. No, it was turn 4. And meanwhile, have a look! Peter Simpson has pushed the limits further. Simo, the new and old pole setter, has pushed the lap time under the 139 mark. 138.9. That should secure the pole position for him, I suppose. Meanwhile, Mika Caruso in 9th. The Rockstar has stayed out on the track. He had more gasoline than just for one hot lap, and he at least will start in P9 as things stand now. So not the last position or the last starting row for him. Rocknair, no improvement at the end of Sector 2. The last starting row, meanwhile, is occupied and owned by the Red Bulls. David Lawson and Martin Ward, two real-life bodies in the Red Bull. But does not look good for the Austrian brand here tonight. So the last minute is on. I think the pole position is given. I think that no one will be able to beat this time from Peter Simpson. Jarne Vanderbrill just starting in another hot lap. It looks like many drivers don't just try one hot lap, they go for multiple runs, multiple hot laps in a row to get some rhythm, to get the tire in the right temperature maybe. Let's see what Vanderbrill will do at the end of sector 1. He is level to his formerly posted time. Slight little bit of improvement. Jarne Vanderbrill, who was one of our top rookies after season 1, yeah, starting on P10 might be a little bit disappointing for him. Let's see what he can do here in the intermediate sector and especially in 130R right here. Looked very tidily, very smoothly. Let's see if it was fast too. End of sector 2 right here. And yeah, he at least found 2/10. 2/10. That would... It's very close where he is. It would push him somewhere around the position of Stefan Williams maybe. And in the end, Vanderbrill is right behind Williams, 1.1 second behind the time of Peter Simpson. Williams, meanwhile, looks like he is not able to improve himself. Captain Infinity, have a look. Sam Clark, our reserve, pushing ahead up and into P6. That's very good for him. Congratulations to that. Jag Rocknan, the second Ferrari, is finished in P10. Let's have a look what Stefan Williams is doing here at the end of sector 2. Williams is not improving his time. Leonard Cam has aborted his last hot lap. I wanted to jump to him, but that's not necessary anymore. Is Dominic Walsh maybe still on a hot lap? He is, and he is second! Dominic Walsh improving himself by 6/10. That was a massive improvement, but it was not enough to beat the time of his big rival of Simo Simpson. A good time from Dom Walsh, giving him the front row, but still a massive 7.5 gap to Peter Simpson. Only the Walsh brothers are able to stay within a second of Peter Simpson. That's really massive, massive. But it shows that Peter Simpson, it shows once again, I need to say, that Peter Simpson is a really, really good qualifier. We know that already from him. Crucial for Simo is to stay away of mistakes in the race. So here is our starting grid for the Suzuka race. Simo is leading the pack in front of the Walshes. Dominic Walsh and Thomas Walsh. In fourth, Blake Gary. Where did that come from? Fifth, Mike Taylor. 6, Stefan Williams. 7, Sam Clark. 8, Grimo. 9, Jarne Vanderbrill. 10, for Jag Rocknian, 11 for Mikko Caruso, 12 Ryan Price, 13 Stuart McDonald, 14 Andrew Mond, 15 is David Lawson, 16 Mercyman Martin Ward, and 17th and last Nevis Ikic. Look, the race start looks dry this time, so dry strategies for our race drivers. and until the start. I will be back shortly. So this will be very interesting now, as the tire strategy rule is not installed here now, as we had a wet quali. Let's have a look. Everyone is free on options how to start or how to race. We see around about a 50-50 mixture of softs and mediums. Peter Simpson starts on softs, while Dominic Walsh will start on mediums. Then we see a whole pack of softies, if I may say so, from Tom Walsh in 3rd until Sam Clark in 7th. And then, yeah, a few patches. Patch of mediums, patch of soft, patch of mediums. And Nevis Ekic on 17th then will start on softs. Yeah, so that totally shuffles all expectations and considerations, I would like to say. And usually those who run on mediums now, those who start on mediums will probably try to get over the race on a one-stop strategy, medium to hard. The soft runners, who will definitely have a advantage on the start, they will probably try to get through on 2 stops and will hope for some safety car phases, maybe 2 advantageous situations or moments. So for the start we will depict the tire, the position changed, so that we see who has the best first moment, first start of the race. Especially the S's in Sector 1 mostly cause a lot of trouble. Let's see how our drivers will get through that when the field is still bunched up. So the race start is about to happen, the 5 red lights, and we have a go start in Suzuka. Bad start for Dominic Walsh. Blake Gary already in 2nd. Blake Gary, can this be the lead for our youngster? No, he pulls back, but still a great start from Blake Gary, pushing up into 2nd position. And then in the rest of the field, everyone tries to survive the first S's. The car is very heavy, a lot of understeer there in the early phases of the race. We see an Alfa Tauri of Grimo, who needed a little bit of extra on the grass there. But everything went rather smoothly and tidily. We have seen a yellow flag, another yellow. The only big loser of the start was maybe only Ryan Price, who lost 5 positions and is now back to P17, 17th and last. But everything else went rather smoothly and tidily, just 1 or 2 ups and downs. Only one who has another number next to his name is Zmixna, that's Chag Rocknan, who is up into P7, maybe exploiting the Medium tire starts from Williams, Grimaud, Van de Bril, but he needs the exit. He needs the exit in the chicane. So that was probably at least a warning for him. Just as always in lap 2 we see the table getting confused, so you can easily ignore these ups and downs of the table. It will update itself as soon as we are in the next lap, in the real lap 3. And so let's have a look at the tire situation. The top 4 are all softs. Great start from Blake Gary, but likewise from Sam Clark, Captain Infinity. So these soft starters were really a lot better than the mediums around them. Let's just ignore the ups and downs from the table. Ryan Price, by the way, did not turn into the pits. Ryan Price did not have front wing damage, so he just spun out somewhere in the first turn. So now, as we enter the real lap 3, the tables are up to date now. DRS will be enabled right now, but DRS is not a big factor here in this race. Still, Blake Gary, our youngster, is able to stay close to Simo. He did not have DRS yet. That he will have next lap if he stays close enough to our leader. Simo, very experienced, 39-year-old race driver, while Blake Gary is... how old is he? 15 or 16? So one of the younger Formula 1 fans. And now he is out of the DRS window. 1.2 seconds and a little bit of grass there. That costed a tenth or two. But he's still far enough away from Tom Walsh to be out of the DRS window of Thomas Walsh, who finished 3rd in our last year in the first season. Then we see Mike Taylor in 4th, both Racing Points having themselves a great evening here. And Dominic Walsh and Ryan Price, those two guys were the big losers of the start. Dominic Walsh dropping from the front row back into P5, now chasing Mike Taylor here. Mike Taylor, who was sitting in this car in the season before. So the Alfa Romeo driver is chasing the former Alfa Romeo driver. And here we see the first time the DRS being activated, just on this short stretch of straight. Mike Taylor, almost a little bit of trouble there for him. Early pit stop for Mico Caruso. Caruso in the pits. That was too early to be scheduled. And Dominic Walsh almost lost his car there in turn 3. The car is very light there. You can easily throw it away. And now he did it. Almost. 2 massive saves of Dominic Walsh. That was a little bit of a showcase why he is our champion, but likewise, yeah, he needs to improve his results if he wants to stay the MRS champion, of course. And now the champion is under pressure by the reserve, Captain Infinity, and maybe of Stefan Williams too. Williams and Infinity, Sam Clark, his real name, both running on softs, both in the DRS window, so building up advantages for the chasers. And behind Williams we see both the Ferrari, Rocknean and Van de Bril, further Grimaud too, so all of them are more or less indirectly in each other's DRS window, but I mentioned it already, I repeat it again. DRS is not a big factor here in Suzuka, just on this stretch here. And in front, Thomas Walsh found his way towards the rear of Blake Gary. Let's see if or when there might be an attack upcoming. That all goes in favor of Peter Simpson, who is pulling away in the lead. Now Blake Gary is pushing. He is really giving it his everything. You can see it. He needs a bit of grass here, a bit of grass there. Really pushing his Williams car to the limits to stay out of the grasp of Thomas Walsh. So the next DRS zone coming up after the chicane. Thomas Walsh does not look like he could attack Blake Gary here or somewhere else, but now he looks very close. Better acceleration for the racing point, and he's through. He is through. I said I don't expect him to be close enough, but he was. He had a lot of better traction coming out of the last chicane. Blake Gary in third, still a great position for him. And let's have a look what's going on here. We see Stefan Williams leading over Jack Rocknean, then Jarne van der Brill, and then Mark Grimmo Goodman. All this brought to us from the view of Mark Goodman here. Everyone takes a little bit of grass left and right. Stefan Williams, who's leading this pack, the only one driving on softs. Let's see when this moment will arrive, when the softs degrade and maybe the mediums are the better, more competitive tire. We have seen meanwhile pit stops by Rocknean and Sam Clark. Yeah, both of them. Sam Clark, Captain Infinity, and Caruso the Rockstar, both running on hards. They will try to finish the race on this compound, maybe already by now. That is very, very long. And Grimmo has lost... No, he didn't. I suppose he lost the contact to the group ahead. And Williams lost the position. Williams lost P6 to Jack Rocknean, who is leading this little train here right now. If we had more DRS zones, I would call it already a small little DRS train, but we are not there yet. And we can easily stay with this group here right now, as there is anyone to attack. Maybe the only one. Let's jump to him as we talk about him already. Here's a threesome now. Three-man battle group that built up over the last couple of laps. Blake Gary in third, losing a bit of time. He is now already in the grasp of Mike Taylor, and Taylor himself needs to watch out from behind from Dominic Walsh. So next DRS zone, let's see what's happening this time. Mike Taylor, does he attack Gary? Very late lunge. But Gary leaves the door open, stays outside, and should have the better lane to defend here in the SS now. A lot of intense battling going on, all that bringing into the action Dominic Walsh. Walsh now very close to Taylor, so this late attack from Taylor might got him into trouble from behind. But I think, especially in these turns, I think the soft tire is still the little bit faster and better one. So I would like to stay with this group. I think there's the most action into it at the moment. The 130R. And I think I have a first glimpse coming through my mind. It looks like as if Blake Gary was slow on the full throttle flat out zones. There's the late attack from Mike Taylor. Late attack, and that was a mistake. That was a mistake. He crashed into the side of Blake Gary. He was impatient, couldn't wait until the DS zone. And Gary squashed him off, but couldn't avoid the overtake from Dominic Walsh, who is back onto the podium here. Yeah, I wanted to say Blake Gary, I think that Blake Gary put a little bit more of his car setup into rain condition, a little bit more of downforce there. That gave him a great quality result, but now in the end here in the race, he seems like he's struggling a bit on the straights, especially there where you are not allowed to open up the DRS, like right here, the stretch toward 130R and after the 130R, and you can visually see Mike Taylor closing up again. Slipstream coming into action here, plus a whole big bunch of EIS. Ooh, almost lost it. Almost lost his car there at the exit of 130R. He wanted to take the maximum pace with him onto this straight. Let's stay with Taylor here and see what will happen. And all of that battle brought up those guys. Have a look. There is a whole bunch of drivers now behind Taylor and Gary into the pits. Gary, the first one of the soft runners, who is into the pit lane. So now we have a four-man battle group, maybe battle group. Mike Taylor will be happy that he finally made it past Blake Gary, but what a massive prize that was. He did not damage his nose, but still, have a look how many drivers are now behind him and eventually maybe being able to push against him. And there what happened? Dominic Walsh spun! Dominic Walsh lost his alpha in the S's, causing a yellow. Only a yellow. He was able to dig out of the gravel. He can continue his race. Does he have? No, he does not have front wing damage, and he loses it again. He has lost it again. I suppose heated tires, and he has now totally ruined his race. Oh. I was talking about him, the reigning champion. He needs to pick up his results, and that is just not how you do it. Behind him, Caruso almost crashed into him because he is so slow. Dominic Walsh is slow. Meanwhile, next pit stop, Thomas Walsh is in. Aha, and right when he is in, the game tells us that the pit stop window is open for the soft starters. Oh, have a look. Tom Walsh, soft to soft. Thomas Walsh does not risk to go through on a one-stop strategy. Thomas Walsh goes soft to soft and mediums later. I'm not sure if that was really his plan or if that was an error by him in the MFD when coming into the pits. But anyway, he needs to make the soft tires work now and push and be the fastest on the track if he wants to have a chance to be competitive on strategies in the end. Blake Gary, meanwhile, is only in P13, so Just a few laps ago, Tom Walsh overtook Blake Gary, and now have a look how much time Gary lost onto Tom Walsh. Meanwhile, let's get back to our battle group. This is the vivid battle for the podium. All of these guys battling against P3 Jaguar Rocknan. Peter Simpson, the leader, is in the pit lane. Let's see who of those guys will pit. 2 of 5 do. That is Williams, Mike Taylor, Seymour exiting the pits behind Grimmo, and ahead the 2 Ferraris going at it. When we were together in our driver interviews, I asked those 2 boys who would be the number 1 driver, the number 1 Ferrari driver, and both were very diplomatic, saying that they have a good, solid teamwork going on. Yeah, we will now see how good their teamwork is. Both run on mediums, that means both will stay out on track a bit longer. Both of them will probably try or think or hope to take the pit stop in the same lap then, maybe. There is some action going on. And then just behind we see Mark Goodman on the edge of the DRS window of Van der Brille. Now he has dropped out of the 1 second window. Have a look. Van der Brille looks faster than Rocknan, at least in the last sector, at least on the flat out zones. A little bit of a locked tire there, but didn't cost him, at least in time wise. And Van der Brille pits. Van der Brille into the pits a bit earlier than expected. I thought he or those boys would run a bit longer. And medium to hard, 1 stop strategy is served and done for the Belgium man. Mark Goodman came in too. He stayed right behind him. So let's stay with Van der Brille here for a moment, and let's see how or if his undercut worked against his teammate. But he's out in a battle group, and Mike Taylor out-battled himself. Mike Taylor slided out there in turn 1. Luckily he slided onto a strip of asphalt. And what's Lawson doing? Our host and admin David Lawson, we didn't see him a lot tonight yet. He's sitting there in P7 because he didn't stop yet. He's holding up Van der Brille. Lawson is holding up the one, admin is holding up the other, and that will not work in Van der Brille's favor in case Rocknan will pit now. Van der Brille's undercut will be worthless thanks to the Red Bull ahead. Now maybe, no, in 130R you shouldn't attack. That would just have caused a few winglets to have a new owner. And Monster as well as Rocknan are into the pits. Jag Rocknan, the Ferrari teammate, into the pits on hards. 1-stop strategy likewise. Let's have a look what will go on. Van der Brille knows that he is under pressure time-wise. And he had a bit troubles on acceleration, so this should work in Rocknan's favor. And it does. Rocknan is ahead. Even Stefan Williams is still behind them. So you can see, you can visibly see how close the Ferrari were before the pit stop. And Van der Brille should have had an advantage, and have a look how much he lost. Have a look how much he lost. He lost even a position to the Haas driver here. Maybe a little bit of a tag against Rocknan when Williams tried to attack the Ferrari. Yellow in sector 1. Probably that was David Lawson. Lot of stuff going on here. Meanwhile, not seen by the cameras. Simo back into the lead. Simo opted from softs to mediums. Let's see if he can make this strategy work. Let's see if he can make these tires last until the end of the race. He won the last race in Canada just this way, as he made his mediums last incredibly long, longer than anyone from Pirelli expected the tires to last. So we still have this big battle group here in the midfields. Actually the battle for P5 or 6, so to say, indirectly. Yellow in sector 1. Looked like a Red Bull, maybe Lawson again. And yeah, so most of the drivers here in this midfield battle are racing on more or less fresh hards. So they will have to get it done on the track. They are on the same strategy, so no chance to beat out someone on a later tire change. Everything that wants or needed to be done will have to be done by racing action in the ongoing 13 laps. And Roumond lost a bit of time there, sitting on his P9. Blake Gary had a problem. At least he got overtaken by Caruso just behind us. Here's the view of the battle ahead. Van der Brill pushing on Williams. Williams in the on the better tire, but have a look how easy this worked for the Ferrari. Ferrari pushing ahead of the Ferrari engine. Our customer in the Haas. Yellow in sector 1 and 2. That was Van der Brill. That was Van der Brill. I missed it. Sadly, I missed it. Van der Brill digging out of the gravel there in the double right-hander. Oh my goodness, my goodness. The Ferrari had such a good race, both or together, you could say. And Van der Brill maybe a little bit of ruined it there. I am trying to get in some replay for me. I had my eyes on the stream. There is sadly no replay action in the game. So everything I want to look up, I need to look up in my stream of the past moments. And I will try to get back to that moment right now. And yeah, it was just a battle incident, you could say, between Williams and Van der Brill. I saw it now. You saw it live. Luckily, you at least saw it. And yeah, while this is going on, here is the next battle group. We have had multiple battle groups right at this point. So in the midway sections. Oh, and Gary is out. Gary is out. What happened there? Is there a wrecked car somewhere? There is! There is a Williams stuck inside the wall. Oh, that is sad. That is really sad. Blake Gary having such a good quality, probably on a rain setup that did not work that well in the dry conditions. Oh, that is sad. That is sad, but already 2/3 of the race in the books, and this is the first DNF, so that speaks for the rising quality of MIs. Likewise, the fact that only Nevis Ikic has a penalty. Right when I say it, Ryan Price is the next one. Ryan Price even with a drive-through penalty for speeding under VSC conditions, so that will ruin a already rather bad race for the second Mercedes. First Mercedes, the Rockstar Caruso, only in 9th. So not a good day for Mercedes. What else is going on? Let's browse through our field. We see Dominic Walsh in P13 only, the reigning champion, far away from points. He will get a little closer when Ikic takes his drive-through penalty, but then he's still just 12th. Nevis Ikic has a 5 seconds time penalty. The drive-through was on this guy, Ryan Price. Right when we come to him, he crashes shortly before the pit entry. Oh. That looked wild scene there for Ryan Price. Now let's see if the game gives him a front wing change pit stop. Yes, but Price is out. Ryan Price has retired from the race. That's sad, but I can understand it. Fair maneuver from him to retire in the pit lane. So, quick look at the position change right now. Thomas Walsh. No, Thomas Walsh shifts my attention to something and somewhere else. The second pit stop from Tom Walsh. Right what I said earlier, I'm not sure if it was his intention to run on softs again. And now he needs to finish the race on this set of mediums. He loses a lot of positions here. Have a look how much he is ranked back. Have a look. Down to P8 or 9. Down to P8 only. Coming out of the pit lane shortly in front of Caruso. That is bad. That is not a good thing for him. So that means that Kantan will stay our overall leader, with Thomas Walsh being probably unable to step onto the podium. And yeah, I wanted to browse through the field. That was my plan. Let's have a look around. Here's our leader, Peter Simpson. Just a little bit of camera time for him, but have a look. He is leading by 16 seconds. Massive gap. Peter Simpson totally in charge of this race once again. Once he doesn't commit a mistake, once his internet connection holds up, that's another topic. Once all that is cleared, he can totally dominate in a Hamilton kinda way. In second, our reserve Sam Clark. But I suppose he will need another pit stop, then he will be ranked back to somewhere around Vanderbilt. In third, Jack Rognian. Good race for him again too. Good race for him. Defending in a fair maneuver against his teammate earlier. And now on a podium course. Podium run possible for him, as Infinity has to still stop, as Tom Walsh stopped once more than he probably wanted. In fourth then Grim, Mark Goodman, who is under a lot of pressure by Stefan Williams. And those two drivers, I suppose they know, I am very sure they know, that they are racing for the final spot on the podium. Because as soon as Captain Infinity has served his second and final pit stop, what I assume that he will do, one of these guys will step onto the podium. In sixth, then Mike Taylor. Quite okay race, I would say. P7, Andrew Mond, very silently crawling up and into the points. P8, Thomas Walsh. I got to ask him, I suppose he made a mistake on strategy that was not planned. P9, Caruso, limiting his damage after he needed a very, very early pit stop. P10, Jarne Vanderbrill, who was in a good race, but then ruined it for himself, more or less. Nevis Ikic, 11th. 12th, Dominic Walsh. P13, Stuart McDonald, Leonard Cam pretty much out of this race, sadly. P14 and 15, both the Red Bulls of David Lawson and Martin Ward, Mr. Mercyman. So at least I have tried to get in everyone here tonight. Stefan Williams in the pits. What happened there? Stefan Williams is in the pits. We came just a little bit too short to see if he needed a new nose. I'm not sure if this stop was scheduled. He was running on mediums earlier. I was wondering if he might make them last through the race. But this was the answer, because he didn't, or he couldn't. So Stefan Williams is out of the podium discussion. And that, the big question now is if Captain Infinity, Sam Clark, can make these hearts make it to the checkered flag, or if not, if he is on the podium in his, I think, second race as a reserve. If he can't, it is a podium for Mark Goodman, who is sitting 4.7 seconds behind him. For the moment, let's get in our midfield battle group again. This is a three-man fighting group this time. Andrew Mont and Tom Walsh chasing Mike Taylor. Tom Walsh on his fresh mediums, definitely on the fastest tire of all them. And here in the DRS zone, attack from Monster on the outside, wheel to wheel into turn 2. But Mike Taylor able to defend him for the moment, but still 5 plus the rest of this lap. I don't think that Taylor is able to defend this for the rest of the race. Stefan Williams meanwhile in 10th on his fresh softs. He should be the fastest now in the whole field, he or Leonard Cam. And Williams will try to close the gap. 9.3 seconds. That will be hard. It will be hard from Williams to get more than 1 point if there isn't anything big happening, maybe right in this battle group. All of us riding towards 130R. Andrew Mont was smart enough not to attack before the DRS zone. He knows he needs to watch out from behind. He can not only attack because Tom Walsh is fast coming from behind on the faster tire. More grip, better grip, but Tom Walsh lost it almost. Yeah, I didn't lose it, but he lost a lot of ground there. A late attack, maybe a little bit too late. I'm not sure if he really wanted to attack him or if it was just necessary to get out of the way. And Andrew Mont able to defend that. And now Mike Taylor is battling only Andrew Mont for the moment, but there is still 4.5 laps to go. So still enough time for Tom Walsh to come up again on his fresher, faster medium tire. Meanwhile, Sam Clark did not pit, so he will try to make his hearts last through the race. It looks like, so that would be, I think, the first ever podium for a reserve driver in the mainstream racing series. Andrew Mont getting closer, back to half a second mark behind Taylor. Now he has a chance. He has a chance for just this, maybe next lap, to attack Taylor without having to look too much into the rearview mirror, as Tom Walsh is over a second away. And this time on the outside, this should work. This does work. Yes, Taylor pushed through, but he braked a little bit too late. Can he make it happen still? Wheel to wheel into the S's. Yes, now. Finally he got it done. Let's see what will happen here in the S's. Dirty air, not a good thing to have here in these sections. And Tom Walsh is already there again. Tom Walsh in the other racing point. He is already into the rear of Mike Taylor and he crashed into it. He crashed into the rear and someone lost some end plates. That can only be Tom Walsh. Yes. Left hand side end plate is missing from Tom Walsh and that brings in Caruso. That brings in Mirko Caruso. The Mercedes battling against the Mercedes B team. Ahead of him, the racing points. Thomas Walsh, of course, struggling on front downforce, and in 130R you cannot have a lack of downforce on the nose. I suppose that Tom Walsh will just try to make his car last somehow through the last few laps. Conserve just a few points at least. If he would pit now, he wouldn't get anything of points. Yes, he stays out. And Mirko Caruso has a chance, has a real chance to get something going, a few more points in this race, but he knows that Walsh is struggling. He needs to be cautious when and where to overtake. But Tom Walsh, I suppose Tom Walsh is a real team player. I have noticed that already in our interviews. I suppose that Tom Walsh would just do anything he can to hold up Caruso in order to secure the place for Mike Taylor, and important points for the racing points. Caruso needing a bit of a wide lane here. Both of these drivers are struggling. Walsh because of his aerodynamic malfunctions. Rockstar maybe because of his older tires. Already 20 laps on his hards. And now he's through. Now he pushed through. Looked very easily actually on a place where you just hardly see any overtake maneuvers, but it worked. A little bit of slipstream action, slipstream play, and oh, have a look! Thomas Walsh with a late attack. Rockstar Caruso did not see that coming, and so did I. Late lunge, late dive bomb, I would like to say, from Thomas Walsh back into P7, and that should have given Mike Taylor enough of cushion to survive his P6 until the end of the race. I think we can stay with this battle. Maybe one short glimpse what Dominic Walsh is doing. Dom Walsh on his old hards against Stefan Williams on his fresh softs. So actually this should be a advantage for Stefan Williams, but he looks like unable to get away. So this might be a valid battle for the last point on P10. Meanwhile, Simo has already entered the last lap. I'm doing a bit hard now to decide where to watch, what to watch, because usually I always try to get in the checkered flag for the leader. Let's maybe stay with these boys for one last DRS zone. DRS will be given to Dominic Walsh, who is close, very close to the rear of Williams. DRS zone here into turn 1. And it worked. Looked very, very easily for him. And he is into P10. Last and final point then would be given to Dominic Walsh. So now let's have a look ahead. Here is our leader in the 130R. We didn't have a lot of TV time for him, sadly. but I hope he will excuse me. And yeah, I don't have a replay option, so I always need to search where the most action is going on the track. Let's have a short look at the position changed. Simo, no position changes for him, of course. And Simo will continue his streak. Simo has won the race. 4th time he finishes a race in this season, and the 4th time he has won it. He will get closer, very close to Kantan in the overall standings then. In second, great race for Torpedo Czech Rocknean, and likewise great race, making his tires last in the end for our reserve driver Sam Clark by the name of Captain Infinity. In 4th, great result, and yeah, a really great race for both the Alpha Tauris. So the Japanese designed helmet worked for both of them. Mark Goodman in 4th, Andrew Mond then in P5, and then both the racing points of Mike Taylor and Thomas Walsh, who kept ahead of Caruso on his damaged front wing by just 4/10 in the end. And then Jarne Vandebril, who ruined his race earlier, and our reigning champion Dominic Walsh catching the last point in P10. So, with the pictures of our podium celebrations, we will leave Suzuka. First, of course, the virtual portion of Champagne. And let me have a short look in our calendar where we go next to. Yeah, so first, this is the final result after penalties. We didn't have a lot of them, luckily. Simo Peter Simpson has won the race ahead of Jack Rockney, and then in 3rd, our reserve, Sam Clark. 4th goes to Mark Goodman. 5, Andrew Mond. 6, Mike Taylor. 7, Thomas Walsh. P8, Mikko Caruso. 9th, Jarne Vandebril. 10, Dominic Walsh. Outside of the points in P11, Stefan Williams. P12, Nevis Ekic. P13, Stuart McDonald. 14th, our host, David Lawson. In 15, Martin Ward. And not finished, we see Ryan Price and Blake Gary. So I looked it up meanwhile in our Discord group, and next Wednesday, April the 14th, we will then head to Mexico City. We will race through the baseball stadium there. I'm very looking forward to it. I really like the track. And yeah, so for the moment, thank you for being with us. It was a pleasure for me to bring this great racing action into your living room. If you want to be notified for our next MRS races, just hit the subscribe button and you will get the notification when my next broadcast stream goes online. I'm Sepp Bauer, glad you were with us, and I wish you a very pleasant evening. Stay safe in these special times and keep racing.